Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Center Stage. I'm Kheri, Hines, your host. Thank you so much for joining me for what should be a very interesting show. Typically, every week, there's hours and hours of research that goes into putting these shows together. But tonight, there was no research needed. When I looked at the state of where I see America at in terms of where the black man stands in this country, I didn't need any research. Tonight, I'll be honest with you, my heart is heavy. My heart is heavy for the fact that I see dark days ahead for black people as a race. I myself am African American. And I see us heading toward extinction due to so many different reasons. But tonight, we're going to focus on Ebola and police brutality. We're going to look at those two specifically because in St. Louis, we have another situation where a teen was killed. Vonderrit Myer Jr. was killed by a St. Louis police officer this week. There's conflicting stories coming out of St. Louis. The officer says that he was shot at 3 times. However, eyewitness accounts are saying that he had a sandwich in his hand. And so it's just far too many situations in which we see police shootings turn fatal when it's dealing with people of color. And that's typically in a situation where you will see a white officer having an encounter with an African American. However, why is it when you see situations of white officers encountering encountering white people, they seem to show restraint in how they handle the situation? So is all of this just coincidental, or is it by design? And when you look at the situation of Ebola, we know now there's over 3,400 cases of Ebola where the people have died. I mean, and we know that Ebola has a cure, but we're told that cure does not help black people. The ZMapp drug, that does not help black people. However, colloidal silver does. And Nigeria is using just something over-the-counter that you can get at any drugstore called colloidal silver to handle Ebola. But why is it in Liberia the colloidal silver shipments are being blocked? So it just, again, is that just coincidental or is it by design? And if that is the case, then we as a group of people have a reason for concern. And I think today is like a wake-up call for me. My heart has been heavy all day. It's been heavy because I know there's going to be casualties. I know this. And I think it comes a time now where you have to stand up and say, if I must die, I must die, but I'm going to die fighting. I mean, you don't just lay down and pretend this isn't happening. We cannot just put our heads in the sand and say, oh, well, I'm not sure. Do the research. I mean, it's not a situation anymore where we can say, I don't know if it's real or not. You can do the research. It's out there. It's available for everyone to see. There's a patent on Ebola. Why is that? Why has the government, got hundreds of thousands of plastic coffins already bought and paid for and put away on different properties here? I think it's outside of Atlanta that they were first found by Jesse Ventura. Why is that? Why has the National Guard and all of these forms of the military been in training to deal with situations of a martial law situation? Why? Does anybody besides me realize there's a problem going on? Something's wrong. I mean, when our own police departments have become militarized, when our own military is being asked, can you shoot women and children? Those are reasons for concern. And we cannot deny that any longer. And so tonight, that's what we're talking about. Is the black man targeted for extinction? That's what we want to know tonight. And this may be a tough subject for some. You know, if you were somebody who watches twerking videos all day and WWF wrestling and all those reality shows, this just probably will not be the show for you tonight, because the conversation will probably delve into some stuff you've never even thought about. But it's time to wake up. So tonight, that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to open the phone lines up to my panel tonight. I don't see A.J. Houston on the phone, but I know he was having phone problems earlier. Good evening, Christopher. How are you?
I'm doing great, Kheri. How are you doing this evening?
Hard and heavy tonight, Christopher. That's all I can say. Hard is heavy.
I know, and I understand, and I know with your intro, a lot of those same sentiments and those realities have been going through my mind as well, in terms of where does the black man stand, and is it feasible or possible that there could be a revival and a comeback of the black man in terms of their rightful place in society, but also the things that have come against them in terms of everything from police brutality to the rate of incarceration to the unemployment levels and so forth. So there is it seems like insurmountable litany of aspects, but I think that it can be overcome.
You know, but I think it can, and basically, and I say this and I struggle with it, because it seems like it's so hard for us to come together. It's so hard for us to get that every other group unites. I mean, you know, to use the Hispanic as an example, whenever you see one come here, then you see him bring his brother and his sister and his mother and his cousin, and all of his friends get here somehow. And then all of a sudden they're all on the block, and they've taken over the whole block. Or if one gets a job, then they get everybody a job. Same with the Jews. Same with the Italians. Why is it that black people do not heed the warning call that is now or never? We unite now or we die together. I mean, it's just that simple. We unite together or we die together. That's simple. That's really how I feel about it, Christopher. It is no way around it. It is over for us. That's how I feel.
You know, I think the advent of unity and attempting to galvanize the African American community. Once upon a time, it was, and even prior to civil rights, just in terms of the simplicity of unity that black folks had. You know, being raised in the South, sharing resources and so forth, and it seems like when we became more urbanized, a lot of that slowly and methodically died off. But I think, too, that it's important that people understand, particularly white America and black America, but more specifically white America, is that a lot of, not as an excuse, but some of what we're seeing is some of that is through deliberate programming, some of that is through deliberate breaking of individuals to inherently make them think that they're the actual minorities when technically there are more non-white people in America and across the world than there are actually white people. And I think what has happened is that, in a sense, black people don't feel empowered. And I'm talking just from a general perspective, and that there isn't any hope for tomorrow in terms of things turning around, in terms of fair justice, in terms of equal socioeconomic access and opportunities. But I think there are small pockets of grassroots individuals that are continuing to beat the drum, because those of us, yourself, myself, AJ, and others, we are continuing on that road because we know that black America is under attack, and it's evident by the statistics, it's evident by the numbers, it's evident by the unemployment, it's evident by those who have been having difficulty with families, with raising kids, with just making a living for themselves. And I think at this point it is going to take the people at the grassroots level uniting, coming together, not just having forums, but basically putting together the plans and then the plan of action in terms of legislation, in terms of what we're going to do to turn this thing around. And I do know that the issues that I know that are heavy on your heart dealing with where do we go from here, or are we going to go anywhere? And I think that what we're going to have to do is take it to the streets. Protesting, picketing, boycotting, that's one phase of it. But the other phase to that is even in doing that, we have to be united. And so when we then go beyond that, it's like you said, if we're not really willing to stick our necks out, if we're not willing to unify ourselves and realize that at the end of the day, my hope would be that it would never have to get to the point where blood would have to be shed in terms of us advocating for equal justice, equal rights, and equal living conditions and employment. But you have to keep in mind, and I'm not advocating violence, I'm simply saying that at the end of the day, when you're in that mode of demanding and trying to pursue what's in the best interest so that you're able to have access to things and opportunities, sometimes, and in a lot of cases, that's going to mean that you're going to have to do everything from petitions to marching to demanding. And that will mean that the authorities that normally like to see people that they like to keep oppressed docile, that they're not going to like that. So people have to understand that may evolve into something where it may become violent, not because you're promoting violence, but violence is exacted against you. And you have to be willing for that to be a possibility on the table as well as being injured or your life being taken. That's an extreme, but if it gets to that point, I think that Black America needs to realize that we first have to unify ourselves and galvanize because we are under assault. We're under attack.
We're under attack. And you know what? First of all, if you'd like to chime in tonight, get on the phone line. The phone number is 347-850-8390, then press 1. If you're listening via the Internet, the number is at the top of your screen. Again, the number is 347-850-8390, then press 1. You know, one thing I think I saw online this week, Christopher, and it spoke to me. I saw two things, actually. I saw a young lady from Africa, and I don't remember what her name was, but she used whatever her name was, and she said from a million miles away. And with tears in her eyes and very emotional, she said, I'm willing to put it all on the line because I'm tired. She said, I'm tired. I'm willing to die. I'm willing to let my children die because I'm tired of seeing the Black people being treated the way we're treated. And she went on, and it wasn't a rant, y'all, in any way. This was somebody who was just pouring out from their heart. And I found myself in tears because as strange as it sounds, I completely related to her at that moment where I realized house, car, none of that matters anymore. If you ain't free, you're not respected, and they're targeting you for extinction, what are you saving? I mean, if you don't fight now, you won't have anything. I mean, it's over as we know it, in my opinion, in terms of, as they say, playing nice. We got to unite. We got to put some things in place, and we got to do it now. There's no time left, period, for reality TV. There's no time left for all the nonsense, the foolishness, clubbing, all that stuff is over. The dollar is about to collapse, y'all. In a couple of months, it's over. The dollar as we know it is gone. They are going to give us one little currency, reduce the value of the dollar. It's gone. I mean, we see Ebola out here. Y'all, 3,400 just gone. When we know Kaleido Super can be bought at the drugstore. That's real. And so when I look at it, I can't deal with foolishness anymore. My TV, literally for days at a time, never comes on. I can't watch the news anymore because I know the truth. I know that they're watering it down and they're only telling me what they want me to know. And that's ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all of them. They're all owned by the same people. They're only telling us what they want us to know. Okay? Listen, y'all, I could go on and on. But tonight, my heart is heavy. My heart is heavy for people who look like me, who are not awake. It is killing me. Because, and I never lose it. I never lose it on the air. But tonight, Mama, is heavy because we are not awake, and they intentionally dumbed us down, and they did not want us to be awake when it all hit, and we can't see it. And all we're concerned about is fighting videos, it's working videos. That's nonsense. That's foolishness, and it's a distraction. And it's intended to be that way, so that we're not paying attention when the bomb hits the house. That's it. And we are so clueless. And it hurts me when I see my people killing each other over stupid stuff, over Jordans. And this nonsense. Nonsense. We are not each other's enemy. The enemy is the person who's sitting up there in the 1% who's trying to take us all out of here. That's the enemy, y'all. It's not each other. Let me go to the phone lines while I'm getting myself together. We're going to go to area code 203-443. Good evening. You're on center stage. 203-443. 203-443, last call. Area code 314-381. Good evening. You're on center stage.
Hello, Kheri.
Hey, how are you? Today has something.
Good. Well, of course you can tell I'm eating dinner.
Well, stop.
You'll come around. But
I'll come around to what?
You'll come around to the point where you're immune to, well, you're not going to totally, but you'll be immune to emotional outbursts.
And you know, Pianki's a listener of the show. You know I never lose it. I am tough as nails, y'all. I mean, I am tough as nails. But today it hit me like a ton of bricks. Enough is enough. We got to come together. We got to come together. It's too many brothers dying in the street. Whether we're killing each other or the police are killing us, too many dying in the street. Period. I'm sorry, Pianki.
You know.
No, go ahead.
But that's just where I'm at on that. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get when we're going to get that we're not each other's enemy. You know, light skin, dark skin, over that. Stop it. You know, long hair, short hair. You know, we're past all that by now, y'all. Please, they've been dragging that song since slavery. Stop and realize I am my brother's keeper, not my brother's enemy. Anyway. Let me go to the phone lines. We're going to go. Hold on, Bianca. We're going to go to 708-717. Good evening. You're on center stage.
Hey, how you doing, Kheri? I can hear the passion in your voice, and I can tell that your heart is heavy because this is a heavy subject matter that you're tackling this evening. And I just wanted to just chime in and say this. The African-American community has had many messiahs come before it. Marcus Garvey, Ida B. Wells, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and the list goes on and on and on. And there comes a time when there has to be a realization that there's an enemy, a proven enemy of African-American people, and not just in this country, but on the continent itself. You can see the taking of the minerals and the taking of the natural resources over in the motherland happening at a rapid pace. And I said all of that to say this. When we come to the realization that, particularly here in America, that African Americans are a conquered people, once you face the reality of it, then you can fix and come with a solution. We're looking at all of the symptoms of police killing our young men and young women in the streets, poverty, disease. These are just symptoms. We have to come to the realization that African Americans are a conquered people and, in many instances, so afraid of white supremacy with a good reason to be afraid of it. We've seen the historical violence and the historical ways in which Europeans have treated us. So there's a fear that nobody wants to really talk about, and that fear is real. However, somebody's going to have to be brave one day and take this thing by the horns, because we're doing this for our children. And Dr. Claude Anderson stated that if we don't do some very serious things very soon, that our population here will be a permanent underclass. And I think that's a hell of a statement for that brother to say, a permanent underclass. So let's look at what we're dealing with right now and understand conquered people don't stay conquered forever if there's a plan. And I just want you to chime in just a little bit on that. I know I said a lot, I talk a lot, but I just wanted to bring something to the conversation so we can look at this thing not up close but from afar. Let's distance ourselves away from it so we can have a panoramic view of everything that's going on in the community.
And I'm agreeing with that. You know what? First of all, to be conquered, you got to have it in your head that you're conquered. And a lot of times I hear people say, well, slavery, we treat each other like it's because of slavery. Well, y'all, wake up. I didn't go through slavery. I had ancestors that went through slavery, but I can't relate to anything that happened back there in terms of saying I am the way I am because of something that happened back there. The mentality that you have is the one that you allow yourself to have. You know what I'm saying? If you think defeated, you are defeated. I don't blame anybody for the state that I'm in today except for myself. If I'm not where I want to be, it's because I have not done something that I want to do. Now, do I understand that white supremacy and all that is out there? Yes, I do. But you know what? We got to take some control of the fact that we don't spend our dollars together, that we don't spend our money like other groups spend their money. We spend our money all over the page. Jews spend their money and put their money together.
Absolutely. Let me just chime in just briefly. You stated something earlier in your analysis when you said that the dark-skinned, light-skinned stuff should be played out. That's the direct remnants of slavery.
Yes.
And good hair, bad hair. This is how entrenched that mentality is. I hear people today say good hair, bad hair. And it's 2014. And so the programming that goes into a conquered people is heavy. We've all seen the experiment of the white doll versus the black doll, how young girls will claim that the white doll is beautiful and the black doll is unattractive. This thing is coming into our children and our psyche at a very early age. And the sad thing is people who try to talk about it, the conquered people attack them because it seems as though they love their conquered state because they're afraid to fight. Anybody that really speaks for a group's behalf in our community seems to be attacked by the ones whom that person is trying to speak for.
See, I posted something on my Facebook page this week. Venus Williams, when she was much younger, did an interview, and her father was in the background, but he wasn't part of the interview. And what happened was the interviewer asked her, said, you know, you're about to have a match with whoever it was. I don't remember the person's name. He said, and how do you know that you're going to beat her? Can you beat her? She said, yeah, I can beat her. He says, well, how do you know you can beat her? She said, I just know I can. And then he said, and then he started to drill her on how is it that she was so confident that she was going to be able to beat this white opponent. And her dad immediately broke into the interview and said, don't do that. She just gave you the answer to your question. She's going to beat her because she knows she's going to beat her. And
you know what, Kheri, I saw that, and if you notice, Richard Williams, his character was drugged through the mud via the media. He was the over-controlling father. And I'll give you another example, Joe Jackson, the father of the Jackson clan. He was this no-good, dastardly dad, but without him in place, that strong male figure, none of those children would have ascended to the heights that they have ascended to.
Exactly.
See, there's an attack. Go ahead, sister. I'm sorry.
That's exactly my point, that he told his child what to think, and he refused to let that interviewer psych her out that she couldn't do it. She had already made up her mind that she could do it. Her dad had told her she could do it. She was ready to go, and here was this interviewer coming in telling her what she couldn't do, and her dad said, stop it. Don't you do that. She just gave you the answer. That is the answer. She will beat her, and that's that. And so, a lot of times this stuff, we're being programmed by the TV, y'all. We're being programmed by the music. They're telling us what to think. Turn the TV off, turn the music, some of this hip-hop, music off, and you will see your thinking will change because you're being programmed, brainwashed. But let me move on. Hold on, Dino. I'm going to go to 972-363. Good evening. You're on Center Stage.
Hello, Kheri.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, thank you for having this program tonight on this very serious subject. To piggyback on what you guys are just talking about regarding being conquered and the fear that black people, what we have, and I totally agree with that. You're conquered if you're not fighting for anything. If you don't believe you have to fight for, you are conquered. If you think you can sit in your mansion or sit in your $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 home, have your nice job, nice car, whatever, and think you have everything made in the shape, you are conquered. Okay? We will continue to struggle unless we change our mindset, and we will continue to be a target unless we change our mindset. And it stems from beyond slavery, actually. But most of it actually came along with slavery. And yes, we are a target because we are the feared race. We are the feared race. They fear us. And we have to eliminate our train of thought. Most of our train of thinking is mentally oppressive. It's we can read a lot of things from the slavery era into today's era, and we call it tradition. And so with the black doll, good hair, bad hair situation is a prime example of that. And for instance, I don't have all the answers, Kheri. I don't have all the answers, but I do try my very best to educate myself on my history, on my culture's history, so that I can deprogram my children to be the kings and queens that they are. And when we stop and think about that, a lot of things that we consider tradition, we can then begin to move forward and we can start conquering others. Knowledge is power. Now, the Ebola crisis is terrible. It's terrible. We are ignoring it. And it brought you to tears. It has brought me to tears as well. Because I can't fathom why. This is 2014. Why are they still afraid of us? And when on the onset, yes, we do appear conquered, but they know something. They know something, Kheri. They know something.
Part of it, though, caller, is Agenda 21. And Agenda 21, for anybody listening tonight who does not know what that is, after this show ends, that should be the first thing you look at. Agenda 21 was a summit that they had in Rio de Janeiro where world leaders from across the world came together, and they decided that they were so brilliant that they should decide what was best for all of us in terms of the air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink, where we should live, everything. It's all written out. These very arrogant people came together and decided this, and they have been working on that agenda ever since, and they've been implementing things. And when you hear the term, which if you're not paying attention or haven't been paying attention, if you start listening, you'll hear it all the time, sustainability, watch that word. It sounds real cute, but it is a packaged up monster. Sustainability means their cute way of saying, listen, your carbon footprint and everything else needs to be this big, and if it's bigger than that, then we need to reduce it. So if you notice, years ago, And I didn't pay attention because I didn't understand it at the time. Remember years ago when people started saying, and I'm saying people, white people, black people were buying the biggest house that they could afford, and white people started saying, we're empty nesters. And I'm not picking on white people because I know white people listen to the show, so it's not about that, but I'm just saying, I'm just making an example here. And they start saying, we're empty nesters. We don't need all this room anymore. We're going to get a smaller place. So they went from like 2,500 square feet to like 1,100 square feet. They said, we don't need all this room because they had started telling people that bill of goods or, you don't need that much. And so now it's gone from 1,100 square feet to you can live in 250 square feet. That's all you need. You don't need all this stuff. That's the trick of Agenda 21. Now, all these rich people in that 1%, they're not living in 250 square feet houses, but they're telling you that you should be able to. That's Agenda 21. All of this telling you what to eat and when to eat it and what water to drink and how much, emissions is coming out of your car, all under Agenda 21. Smart meters, if you got a house or living in an apartment, you probably got a smart meter on the back of your house. Smart meters tell you or tell them that the electric company when you turn the light bulbs on in your house. That's Agenda 21. Eventually, they will be able to determine when you cut them on, and if they think you're using too much, they'll cut them off for you. They're not going to come to your house in your backyard anymore and cut off your utilities. They cut them off from downtown now. So all of this has changed. And you know what? We weren't paying attention. Because like someone said, they took away our rights little bits at a time. And then by the time we woke up, caller, we're like, wait, what's going on? You can't do that. They'd already done it.
We will soon be under martial law as well. Our Constitution will no longer be in effect. And that's something that they're gearing towards as well. You see how all these police stations are training their police officers military style because they're gearing up for something. People wake up. The Justice Department just shipped out hundreds or millions of dollars worth of large ammo to police departments across the country. They're gearing up for something. Wake up.
And you know what? It could be either the topics we're talking about. St. Louis could jump off tonight, y'all. I just talked to somebody on the ground in St. Louis. St. Louis is a powder keg right now after that shooting that happened Wednesday. Ebola. If people wake up and realize Ebola is set out here to kill, people that look like us or people of color, it could be a powder keg out here. So that's what they're gearing up for.
Right, and also what people have to start doing is think logically. When you have this genetically engineered biochemical weapon, at the time it was manufactured, a cure was manufactured as well. Because like AIDS, I believe, this is only my opinion, I believe the AIDS was geared towards us, but of course it found its way to attach to a strain or cell in our body to affect the Caucasian race as well. So there is a cure for AIDS. We just don't know about it, or a lot of people do know about it. Only, I guess, privileged people are accessible to it. But when Ebola was created back in the 70s, you best believe it is protocol for them to manufacture a cure at the same time, just in case their plan gets out of hand. And so with Ebola virus, the World Health Organization said a couple of weeks ago, we are down for anything, any experimental drug. We are down for. We are okay. Let's try it. Let's get these people in Africa cured. But as soon as they saw that the Africans were curing themselves pretty much with the nano-colloidal silver, they stopped WHO stopped all shipment to Liberia, Sierra Leone, stopped all shipments to these countries in Africa. Why?
But does that tell you people that look like us where we're going with this? If you know that the people have found their own way to cure themselves, and the World Health Organization stopped shipment of it from coming in, does that not tell you they're trying to kill you? I mean, wake up.
We said last week we was going to research that. We was going to identify somebody. And I was going to put money towards some colloidal silver. Let's see if we can send it over there. I'm saying it can go.
You know what? I went to the
right
vitamin
now,
shop.
what they're doing, it appears what they're doing is they are checking everything that goes to these countries in and out. And once they find out that it's silver, they are blocking it and sending it back to its original source. It is not going through right now, and it's so sad. It's so sad.
Hold
they're
on, y'all. Let's
checking everything.
Let me pick up another caller. Area code 626-488. Good evening. You're on Center Stage. Let me try that phone line. It's having trouble opening. 626. Stand by just a second. We're having trouble opening your phone lines up. And y'all listen, when you do a show like this, trust me, they jack with your phone lines. But you know what? They did it last week. I went completely black. My board went completely black. But you know what? It's not going to stop black folks to realize that we in trouble. I mean, if you shut us down tonight, it still lets us know. That's even more cause for us to realize it's bigger than we thought. I mean, if they're concerned about what we're talking about tonight, it may be a reason for that. 626. I'm gonna have to try something else because for whatever reason it is not opening up your phone line. If you don't mind, maybe you could hang up and call back in. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but it is not allowing me to open up 626-488. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Listen, if you in 626-488, if you would hang up and call back in because for whatever reason it's not going to allow me to open it up. If you just tuned in, you're listening to Center Stage tonight as we talk about Ebola and the St. Louis riot. We're looking at the fact that between Ebola and police brutality, it appears that the black man is still targeted for extinction. It's just what it is. And so tonight we're addressing the fact, what should we do as a group? What should we be doing as a group of people? Because when you get there at the end of the day, if I knew that if I walked out my door I was going to be shot, then I wouldn't walk out the door. And we should all look at it like that. If we know that we're targets, why would we want to continue to go along the same path? It's time to do something else. I mean, because, and I think we got to get past this, I don't want to lose my house and I want to lose my car. When you get through, there's no such thing as, okay, I'm the acceptable black person and they're not happy with those other kind over there. Because, you know, and we know there's people, and people like Chris Rock has said, you know, I don't want to live next to the N-word either, and I'm black. I get that, and on that level I understand that. But at the same time, don't feed into that mentality that it's them, you know, that they're talking about. And they're not talking about me because, you know, I got my college education and I live over here in the suburbs and I drive a Beamer. It's not about that right now. As a whole group, they're targeting us all. And so when you put a virus in the atmosphere that affects everybody that looks like me, that means they ain't got no favorites. Would y'all agree with that? Would anybody on the line tonight agree with that? They ain't got no favorites if they'll put a virus out there that will attack people that look like us?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and you know what, Kheri? Something that Dick Gregory said that resonates with me in relationship to what you're saying. The bottom line is that black America, we as black folks, I believe we in general know the enemy or who the enemy says, just like Dino was talking about. But in a lot of our cases, in terms of our efforts, we're fighting the wrong people. In other words, my white neighbor who may have a racist mentality, just as an example, he couldn't help me if he liked me. And the average white person is the wrong person because they don't control economics, they don't control the banks, they don't control the police. The elite do. So white is more of an attitude. You got to have money to be a real white person. So whereas we fighting the KKK just as a general spectrum, most poor white individuals are not the folks we need to be fighting. See, it's easy to pick out a quote-unquote redneck and fight that person. But are you willing to stand up and fight Sears and Roebuck? You willing to fight Bank of America? Are you willing to? So those are the things. There's a lot of the companies that the fight needs to be taken to, But like you said, because of the fear factor, people are not willing to. And I'll say this real quick. I went to, and this is one of the ways I think would be the quickest and the least expensive way for stage one of the comeback of black men and black women in America. And that would be through a simple, unified effort of just coming out to things when we ask you to. In other words, I went to a meeting today in Chicago. It's called the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority meeting. They have this meeting every quarter. This is where the state's attorney, Cook County State's attorney, the sheriff, the commissioner, the superintendent, everybody, prison board, anybody that has anything to do with the criminal justice system is there. It's a 25-member panel. The public can come, but I didn't see one black leader there. I was there with two other black colleagues, and at the end, they give you an opportunity for a public response. Now, that's not necessarily going to get us everything that we need in the black community in terms of restoration. But I can dare tell you, they're discussing the budget and everything that's verbally connected with everything from the time a person gets arrested to when they go to jail, when they're tried, and or when they're on parole. They're talking about all the dollars, and they're even talking about the agencies that get grant money and get money from the government to do like anti-violence programs. Now, if 60 or more % of black men are in jail, and there's not one black organization or representative there, or anybody that looks like me, to make any kind of attempt to get a grant or to do anything within that spectrum, then there is a problem. So I think in the black community, a lot of the meetings, a lot of these things that they have on a regular basis that I know here in Chicago that in general black folks do not attend, we need to hit the churches, we need to hit all over and get the information out so people have clarity on what meetings, what they're for, and what kind of activism can affect a lot of these changes that occur. And this is not even dealing with voting. This is purely your presence and putting the pressure on the leadership to do the right thing. I mean, I know that's just, it's a start. There's other things that we as a people have to do, but I think a big part of what we're dealing with is inactive people.
Is right, and that's correct. Carl, we are doing the same thing down here in Texas. I am very proactive in trying to organize some nonviolent stages here, and we've spoken to several, gone to several cities. We've been requested to come to several cities, and what we're seeing missing is, of course, the black people. We're seeing missing city council, our elected officials. Nobody is showing up. These invitations are extended to these people, but come election time, they want our vote. They want to robocall our homes and ask for our vote and pretty much get it sealed on through the phone call. Are you sure you want to vote for us? Well, where are you when we step out in the city and we request your presence because of ongoing violence in our cities? Where are you? We are doing that. We're very proactive down here with our organization down here, and we are not involved. And so my struggle is this. How can we get us involved? Because my theory is this. If we can't unite as a people, how can I expect for us to unite against the people? So we need to be more proactive, like you said, and I'm speaking on that, trying to get more people involved, trying to stir up people's minds, get them out of their comfort zone. And that's something that's going to be very hard to do, but I am up for the task. I am willing to come to any city to speak on getting us involved more because we need to unite as a people first.
I'm going to put this out here. You know what? I think this is what I'm saying. I think that, and I said this last week, and take this in the spirit in which I mean it. And I'm going to the phone lines in just a second because I see there's several lines I need to get to, and 626, your line is open now. I think we need to, and I said this last week. We're not going to save everybody because people got to want to be saved. But all of those that are like-minded, I think we need to come together. I think we need to figure out how all of those that think like us, that are ready to do something to move forward, we need to come together. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. But I'm going to go to the phone lines right now. 626, you've been holding. 488, good evening. You're on center stage.
Yeah, how you doing? It's Covina Man from California. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Oh, okay, yeah. I would just want to add this, and for me, I try and study the political system, white supremacy, racism, and things like that on an ongoing basis. From what I can tell, from what I can tell, I gather that the so-called elite, as a previous brother had talked about, poor white folks and elite white folks. As I have observed, elite white folks have pumped into black consciousness these things such as Agenda 21 and that Georgia Stone, things that you have talked about previously. They pump these things out there, and they're completely phony, from what I can understand. Because it's as if you have a person who's scared of spiders, and somebody walks around and with a plastic spider and throws it in front of them and freaks them out. I think a lot of this stuff is just total phoniness that they can throw out in front of people who's totally afraid of conspiracies and boogeyman and stuff like that. So you come out with something that sounds sinister. If you were to say to somebody who's afraid of the boogeyman, whatever, a word like the Georgia Guidestones, that would freak them out without even knowing what the heck that is. That just freaks them out. And then you have somebody that's like, I'll just come out there and tell you Agenda 21. Wow, that just freaks them out. The so-called elite, let me just finish this one point here. The so-called elite have the black folks twisted around their fingers, jumping at every phony thing they throw up. There is no such thing. The only thing you really need to focus on is the racist white supremacy, which is these elite white folks.
Wait. Caller, no, wait. One thing I disagree with two things you say. First of all, the best thing that I would say is research. You don't have to take anybody else's word for it. Agenda 21 is real, my brother. If you go and I mean, the whole document is on the web. If you go and research it, we live in it. We ain't talking about something down the road. They are rolling out. Let me give you an example. Smart meters, like I just told you about. Smart meters. That is to control your entire existence at your house. They want to know how many times you're turning the light bulbs on. They want to know how many times you're watching. They want to know how much utility is being used. That's why, haven't you noticed that the utility companies are starting to come out and say, listen, if you use more utilities at night, we'll give you night for free, but you got to pay for the daytime. Well, hell, they know most people asleep at night. So they know that, hey, if we can start telling people when to use these things, we can determine the way that they use it, the usage. You see what I'm saying? So it's all a plan, my brother. Agenda 21 is real.
If you understand what I'm saying, it's that someone came to black people or whomever. It's not just black people. There are a lot of people who are phobic about anything. And they come to people with these phony boogeymen. It's a phony spider that they're throwing in front of you, and you're freaking out as if it was a real giant, black widow that's creeping up your leg. They're throwing stuff at you that's phony. That's all I'm sure. From my understanding, you're phobic, and they're throwing some phony stuff your way, and it's freaking you out. I can understand. People here have been abused by white supremacy, and they don't know. Something real from something phony. I understand.
You know what? Because we have other callers on the line, we're going to agree to disagree. Okay, we're going to go to area code 571-335. Good evening, you're on Center Stage.
Oh, hi. This is Mary Neal. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting guests to speak on the Ebola crisis and the St. Louis riots, and of course the new young man who was killed by police as he ate a scary sandwich that looked like a gun. And, I read that black men are 21 times more likely to be killed by police than Caucasians. Frankly, I think that when you say black men are 21 times more likely to be killed by police than Caucasians. I think that's probably a serious understatement. I think it's probably a lot more than that. And also, when you say black men are 21 times more likely to be killed by police, let's say white police, then when we compare that to white men being killed by black police, the number has got to be like 1,000 times more likely, or maybe 10,000 times more likely, because I really can't even think of a single instance where black police officers have killed a white man and white boys. I can't think of a single time it's happened. And so that shows you that it's possible to wear blue and not kill people of another race for having a sandwich or for crossing the street in the middle of the street or for any reason, because black police officers simply don't kill white men and boys. So restraint is possible. And I want to know what causes the total lack of restraint when it comes to Caucasian police officers and black men and boys. I think we already know the answer to that is the lack of accountability. And as we come up on Columbus Day, I want to say that Columbus Day is the day that we celebrate a mass murderer, and we teach our children to glorify and celebrate this mass murderer who bashed babies' heads against rocks, who gave his sailors, young 10 and 11-year-old Native American girls to rape, who used the young Native American men as slaves and would cut off body parts if they did not do their bidding fast enough, and who literally slaughtered thousands of people. So we celebrate Columbus Day. And the thing is that Columbus Day is not so different than what we're doing now. Now we see police officers who have been, who have actually killed people who didn't deserve death. We see them getting promotions and paid vacations and even upward job mobility. We see them getting, like the man who was doing the torture in Chicago, who got out of prison, and he's going to receive, as he has been, $4,000 a month, a pension. So he's still being rewarded for the years that he tortured. He was in charge of torturing some 100 or better black men with electrocution and all kinds of horrors. So we have Columbus going on now.
The black man has been going through it for a minute, and that's what we're talking about tonight. If you have just tuned in, we're talking about Ebola and the St. Louis riot. Another black teen was killed in St. Louis. Vonderrit Myer was killed by St. Louis police. And so we're trying to figure out why is it that the black man seems like he's targeted for extinction. Hold on, Mary, I'm going to have to catch some more phone calls. 404-587. Good evening. You're on Center Stage.
He's acting crazy, acting like he all tough, planning to break us. I just came to kill you this guy.
901-299. Good evening. You're on Center Stage.
Hey, Sister Kheri, how you doing? This is Brother Ron. Thoroughly enjoying the show. I'm good. Like, it's been a busy week, been a crazy week, a crazy year for black people. And I'm just now figuring out that Thomas Eric Duncan, the brother down in Dallas, he didn't die from Ebola. He died from white supremacy, racism. He died from neglect. It's really sad to know that black life is not worth anything in this day and age.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Mr. Duncan did die. The case that was here in golly, I guess I'm moving so fast. I forgot to mention that. Mr. Duncan did die. And I'm with you, Ron. Something happened that wasn't supposed to happen. First of all, he was turned away from the hospital. And then when they do let him back in, the family says, they got treated really badly. and he was given some experimental drug, and all of a sudden he's out of here. So
they sent him home at a temperature of 103 degrees.
They did what?
They sent him home. He had a temperature of 103 degrees, right? They sent him home the first time. The temperature was like 103 degrees. And the sheriff deputy who survived, who had a fever, his temperature was like around a 101.5. And that caused a concern for the sheriff deputy, who was a white man, who is a white man. So they sent their brother home when he had a temperature of 103 degrees.
Someone said because he didn't have insurance.
Yeah, I mean, also because he's black, he had an accent, he's not from this country. I mean, there's so many things, there's so many reasons. But to me, I'm just really saddened by black people's actions right now, because I just came back from Ferguson and St. Louis. I was in Ferguson on Tuesday. The 24 hours where all this stuff is blowing up, and I felt so good being around black people. I had brothers, they was in a Lexus, smoked out Lexus, a gang full of brothers pulled up to me when I was taking pictures at Red Barbecue at Ferguson. And, normally you think about brothers pulling up to you like that, they let their head gang stuff on, but they were really cool. I interviewed some of the brothers. And he talking about some of the horrors they went through with the police in St. Louis. One brother had to have his kneecap and his hip replaced. He's a young man. He got beat up by the St. Louis police on his birthday several years ago, really, really bad. He's lucky he survived. So I interviewed him about that, and then, on Wednesday, you had this happen not only in St. Louis in the city, but also what happened in Ferguson with the shootout. Well, a young person was killed, and a state citizen almost got shot at the near the Hill Ferguson or Hill St. Louis headquarters in Ferguson. So my thing is this is like, okay, we need to stop and really look at the realization that black lives do not matter in this system of white supremacy. You cannot expect to get justice. And the reason why a lot of things are happening to us is because we don't got our economic house in order. So, I mean, instead of them worrying about voting rights and stuff like that and taking your votes, you could buy a vote. You could buy politicians. You could create a lobby. So if you don't have no type of leverage in a system that denies you access, then that's your problem. I mean, they're not going to respect your life. I mean, really, you think about it. If you're a black person, if you look at the young man in St. Louis on Wednesday night, even if he had a gun and shot at the cop, look at the track record of the St. Louis Police Department. Look at Ferguson. Look at Memphis, where we had over 23 folks getting killed by the Memphis Police Department in 2 years. I'm talking about from 2012 to now. Almost 30 people have been killed by police. And so if you look at that, if we are at war, and you know who your enemy is, and your enemy know who the enemy is, so the thing about it is that cop was off duty. He was doing his second job. He had no business acting like a police in that instant. He should have called for backup. He should let him go. But he pursued them, just like with Zimmerman. He pursued Trayvon. They killed. They hunting us. We the prey. This is predator. They hunting us down and killing us.
And that's really what it feels like. I mean, it really feels like, you go, what do they call it? When you walk out the house, you have the crosshairs on your head, and you just don't know, is Ebola going to get you? Is police brutality going to get you? I mean, is a George Zimmerman out there going to get you? I mean, and what I said in a couple of shows ago was this. Nobody seems to be going to jail when black people are dying. And whether it be a George Zimmerman or whether it be a police officer who wrongly kills you, nobody's going to jail. Whether it be Ebola, nobody's paying for when a black man dies. What's wrong with that? We are targeted. This is not some coincidence. This is something that is intentional. I mean, and we're just. I mean, even when you look at black on black crime, who put all those guns in our community? Come on now. I mean.
They had a big demonstration in about 3 communities over from Ferguson last week. But demonstration was about black people. They wanted to get the black mayor to resign because he is being indicted. So people say that black folks don't like to get rid of criminality. It's just not true. The mayor in Pine Lawn, Sylvester, I think his last name is Caldwell. Now, in fact, I just shook his hand about 3 weeks ago. But here's the thing. These conversations have been going on since Moses parted the Red Sea. If you don't put the things in place in order to control the police department, it's businesses that control the politics control the police department. You need those white police officers need to be gotten off of those public service jobs when you have a majority of the population being black. Nobody's even talking about that. Let's put some signs around our neck that's saying that. That's then the definition of deadly force need to be revised at the state level, because it is all over the place. That's what gives not only a police officer the right to shoot and kill you, but it'll give me the right, who's a concealed carry, to shoot and kill you too, or anyone.
But see, another thing too, though, Nancy, I think we're assuming that all of these things that you're talking about is already on the table. Maybe they just haven't been brought up. So maybe the right group of people have not come together with their skill sets and their knowledge and help the cause. So maybe all
I know for sure, and I was talking to a former state rep, and they was mentioning about Jamila, and I know Jamila very well, and they say she will not talk about that. So that needs to be talked about. That needs to be done. You have to change the definition for lethal force. If you don't, lethal force, the way it is now, is very vague, wide open. And people, and here's another thing, blacks need to learn the law.
Yes.
They definitely need to learn the law.
Yes.
How laws are made, and how laws, when bills become laws and laws become statute, blacks need to know how that goes from that point to where it affects them in their everyday life. Then you would better understand and see what it is that you need to do.
I agree.
And I agree with that.
Go ahead, Christopher.
Another point, there needs to be a national registry for police officers that is involved in something that takes a person's life, something that where a U.S. citizen is aggrieved, or when they are reprimanded. Because just as you look at the case in Hammond, Indiana, that cop had been involved in something like that 2 times before. The one in South Carolina that killed the kid shot the kid on the service station lot, he had been involved in something like that a year earlier. So there needs to be a national registry, because when you call a community a lot of money, they get rid of you. And what do? You just go to another community. And that's totally crazy.
Let me jump in.
If you rape a girl, wait a minute. If this gentleman that's on the other line rape a woman, wherever he go to find a job, that's going to come up. The same thing should be with these police officers. Whether it's justified or not, a community has the right to know. What community want to continue to be paying out millions and millions of dollars going against their bonds? And that's another point. We need to sue their bonding company, sue beyond the limits of their bond, then go after them personally. Go after their boats, go after their guns, go after their chewing tobacco, and their bows and arrows.
That's right. And y'all, listen, I found out this weekend and that all police departments have insurance companies. And after they're sued so many times, the insurance company will dump them. And there's a situation that's posted on my Facebook page, and I don't remember the city, in which they were sued so many times that the insurance company said, listen, we're out. We don't.
That was in Ohio City. The city in Ohio. The police department had to shut.
Where was it?
It was in Ohio, just like it is with your automobile insurance. Go out there and have 1-2 minutes and see what happens.
They will drop your insurance. And guess what? The whole police department had to shut down because they couldn't find any insurance. Hello. And another thing, we found out in a recent show, there's no official numbers on how many police fatal shootings there are. They don't keep numbers. So they're trying to tell us that from across the whole country, they don't know exactly how many people police kill because there's no official numbers kept on that. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
That's a lie.
But the only reason we know about the lynching is because of Ida B. Wells and Tuskegee Institute. I mean, they never kept official records when it pertains to
the NAACP
the murder of black people. Right. So it's on the people. It's on grassroots people to do that.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you something, too. I've been looking at the young people on TV, on mainstream, on MSNBC, down in St. Louis. They were talking about this today on MSNBC. And them brothers know that we can't do that civil rights stuff no more. It's over for that. It's a new day coming. Mm-hmm.
But they need to be steered.
I mean,
they need to be steered.
It's gonna be. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
They need to be steered in the right direction because.
But there ain't no leadership though. Who's at the wheel? I mean,
well, you're absolutely right. You got some some old knuckleheads that's out there.
I said the young people fed up though. I saw how they was looking. I mean, they ready they ready to fight back. Let's put it that way.
Well, they don't need to be physically. So what they need to do is they need to fight back with gaining control. And here's the point.
Mm-hmm.
Ferguson is going to be an all-black community, or nearly all-black, no matter what you do. Them whites that's there now are going to die off. Ain't no new whites moving in that community. And that's just inevitable. That's what's going to happen. But the thing is, I'm telling you, they need to take control of that city council. They need to petition the state auditor to come in and audit the police department, city hall, and the school district. I don't know if they can do the school district because I think this Ferguson, Florida. Then that way you can tell exactly what's been going on. It's the information that you get off of them audits that proceed on to becoming lawsuits and indictments against city officials. Because I can guarantee you they've been doing something wrong. And then it's exposed.
Let me go back to the phone lines. Listen, if you've been tuning in tonight, you've come center stage. We're talking about Ebola and the St. Louis riots. Basically, we're talking about the fact that Ebola now has killed over 3,400 people over in Africa, and it killed its first case here in the States, Mr. Duncan in Dallas. That's a lot of folks, y'all, and they all are African-American or African. And so that's reason for cause. We know how many times we've seen situations of police brutality where someone was fatally shot, as in the case of this young man in St. Louis that was killed on Wednesday. I think his name is Vonderrit Myer Jr. Some people are saying he had a sandwich in his hand, and police mistook that for a gun. Y'all, that's happening too much, too often. Something's going wrong, and we need to fix it. And by the way, Dino, being your phone line back open, we're going to go to area code 202-443. Good evening, you're on center stage. 203-443. Good evening, you're on center stage.
Oh, hello?
Yes. Oh. Hello.
Hi, this is Gwen. How are you?
Hi, Gwen. How are you doing?
All right. So I've been listening, and, and it's like mixed, right? You hear this part of it is hopelessness, it's the way it is, and then there's this other piece. But for me, I'm not a victim, and I'm not going to sit here and let a system hold us hostage. Like, if we can march, if we can get buses just to march, I know it's safe, I know it feels good on the inside, a little fluffy on the inside, and media's watching. We can march, we can shut things down. I mean, that's just where I am at this time. I just won't allow. I prefer like that other lady. I just go out, die trying. I know it's easier said than done because we have our mule in the house, our mule and our acre of land, and it's just easier to play on the sidelines. White supremacy is here, but it's been here. And we've been successful, and I've seen people that organize get things done. And, I think one of the young men talked about the plan. That's all I want to hear is the plan, because I might not have all the resources to organize communities, but I know I have enough base to get things started. If everybody were to just do their part, whatever plan we come up with collectively, this wouldn't be happening. They're talking about the recall coming into Ferguson. To me, that's taking too long. We got happy with the Justice Department came in. Oh, they're looking at it. They're taking just as long as Darren Wilson. Because everybody's going to play, even the U.S. Department of Justice, they're only going to go but so far. But they knew they had to say that to try to still the waters. But it's not working, right? People are saying, hold on, wait for justice. Shot another man. And if we continue to wait, they're going to continue. They're not even trying to they already filled the jail cells up. They say, now we just going to kill them. We're not even going to try to give them due process. We're not going to try to put them on probation for 20 or 30 years for a misdemeanor stealing a cigarette. We're just going to kill them. But until we come collectively as a people, and I believe I think we're more there than not. we just don't have that plan, that action step, that's kind of helping people get to where they need to be. I think we're more toward organizing than not, and Ferguson is the catalyst. So for me, I'm just waiting to hear that who, what, when, and how on this phone call, on the other radio station. Tell me where I need to be, help me understand what I need to do, create some safe havens. We need to boycott our schools. We shouldn't even send our babies. They only care about the money. If we shut the money down, and schools are one of the primary places that if you want to cripple a system, don't send your black babies to school because they make lots of money off of us. So that's my stand. I'm just saying I'm not going to sit here and act like there's nothing to be done. We just have to fight it inside of us to just do something. And it's going to be we might, yeah.
What we haven't done seriously, and that is do the economic boycott. We just really have not gotten serious about that. I don't know when we're going to wake up and realize, maybe we just ought to shut Walmart down for a month or a week or something.
That's not going to do no good. What is that going to do? Boycotting the Walmart and them shops along the line on the streets is not going to do any good at all. You got to get those people out of those city service jobs. Believe me. I've watched this for decades.
Can I chime back in just for a second, please? This is Dino. Yeah, I just wanted to share this. And first and foremost, I'd like to say that the conversation has been really good. And I appreciate everybody taking time out of their schedule to hang out with Kheri this evening on Center Stage Radio. But what I'd like to share is this. Nobody's ever boycotted their way to freedom. Nobody has ever marched their way to freedom. None of the above has ever happened. And a gentleman said a while back on the show, I don't recall his name, said, we're at war.
Right. We are.
So you can't win a war by not fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just say one quick misnomer, how they hyped up the nonviolent movement. That's a fallacy, and that is untrue. What got legislation changed in this nation was the rioting that happened in the streets. And they used our brother Martin King as the catalyst for some of the change. But it really wasn't him. You get nowhere by nonviolence in this particular paradigm. So, and I said all of that to say this. A lot of us, we're a little bit older. When these young people decide to rise up and do what needs to be done, don't talk them out of it. Let them do what they have to do.
It's about to happen now.
They're going to be happy.
But let's up here in St. Louis area, right? Isn't that the vibe up there already?
Oh, yeah. They frustrated. Young people are frustrated, and we don't teach history and civics. That's why we don't know about government. They stopped teaching civics in the classroom years ago. They don't even have that cartoon come on how the bill becomes a law or whatever. They don't even have that cartoon come on no more. So what I'm saying is what he just said. Nat Turner, when he had his rebellion back in 1831, the state of Virginia was about to abolish slavery. They were thinking about really abolishing slavery when Nat Turner had his rebellion. And then it fell short several votes. That's history. So what he's saying is the language of America is the language of violence. Our national anthem is violence, okay? Our heroes are military people. We celebrate wars. We don't celebrate peace. We celebrate death, okay?
Well,
we're the bigger exporter of violence on the planet. Dr. King.
The biggest thing that's going on, you have economic terrorism that's going on in the black community. The fact that they're not following the things that Claude Anderson talk about all the time.
Right.
You talking about physical violence is not the way to change these things. You got to go through the process. Businesses control politics. Politics control the police.
But did East St. Louis ever recover from 1917? You said it's not. Did East St. Louis ever recover?
You know why? Because white
1917?
businesses moved out of East St. Louis, and there's nothing there. I mean, that's the funny thing. Whites moved out of city of St. Louis and moved out of Chicago. It's just as if they got up from their desk and left the typewriter, paper, and pencils and everything there and left. The thing is, black folks did not have a plan in place in order to take those things over. So boycotting businesses is not the thing. The only businesses that's going on in those municipalities that you pay directly to, because you don't have to go to Walmart. Walmart is there on a whim. They really don't want to be there in Ferguson. They ready to leave. And wherever they go, if they go to Alaska, blacks going to follow them. So the thing is, the businesses that you support directly is those public service jobs. You got to get them folks out of your public service job. And to do that, there needs to be a separate, independent agency that has the applicants of black potential police, firefighters, and city works. So when those departments are ready to hire, they have to go to that agency and not go to the good old boy system. That's what they keep coming in. It's the good old boy system. You got to stop it. That's the way we stopped it. That's the way they stopped it with MoCan in the city of St. Louis when it came down to construction contracts.
Let me piggyback on something though. And he's talking about changing those positions. I've thrown this out there on a previous show, and I'm going to put it out there for y'all. Y'all want change down in Ferguson. Y'all need to get DA Bob McCullough out of office. How can you fix that? I think on this coming election,
McCullough is not a DA in Ferguson. He's a DA in St. Louis County. Ferguson has a little old bitty police department. It's not little, but it's got 53 officers. They have their own police department. If the city council voted Monday to dissolve their police department, they all out of a job, and what they would do would contract with St. Louis County to patrol their city, like you got some adjacent cities there that have done it. Jennings done it. The black city council dissolved the whole police department because they was having the same problems with police brutality with a majority, 99% black community, and black folks was complaining. The white police chief wouldn't do anything, so they just dissolved, put everybody out of business.
Let me finish that thought. Gerald Christmas has worked in the DA's office down there. In my opinion,
he works in St. Louis. He works in downtown St. Louis he may still be under Jennifer Joyce. That's a whole different thing, but he knows what's going on very well. Gerald's a good person.
But y'all not let me finish my thought. Hold on 1 second. I'm saying write him in. Write him in as a write-in candidate against McCullough. But I think
he doesn't live in St. Louis County, sweetheart. He lives in St. Louis City.
Yes, he does. He recently moved. He recently
I don't know. Now maybe last time he had a big event at his home, he was there off of for Delmar, and I can't think of the other street. But Darryl lives in the city of St. Louis. He has to because he works in the city. If he's working under Jennifer Joyce, he lives in the city of St. Louis.
Okay, then we'll take it over with him then. Okay, but that's not what I understood. But we'll let it go then. Okay, we're gonna go to the phone line.
And here's another point. Wait a minute. Let me get this. Let me bring this up to you too. When you talk about St. Louis County, you're talking about at least 94 communities. Blacks do not make up the majority in St. Louis County. Blacks make up the majority of these little municipalities.
And there's a whole bunch of your prisons, right?
But we ain't talking about running for a prison job. We talking about running for a St. Louis County prosecutor.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying, but you also, right now, the reason why Ferguson, only thing that's happening on the ground there, and yes, it's mass, and yes, it gets media attention, is the protests, the rallies, the rioting. No one's job has been impacted. No system has been shut down. Right? And so that means business as usual is still occurring even though you have national attention. What you have to disrupt is the business as usual. I got a call from a senior, a young man. He's a senior in high school, I guess in the town next over, Vagan or Rashad Vagan High School. So they did a walkout because they're saying
Vashon High School. That's in St. Louis City.
Right. Well, they called us in Connecticut, and so they were saying they did a protest. They walked out because it says the quality of schools. The superintendent threatened to have them arrested. Now, here all the kids want is to get these long-term substitutes out of the classroom with that, giving them their instructions. This young man said he tried to go to college and they watch videos every day. Now, the largest line item you have in Ferguson, in any city, is your education budget. So if you want to cripple something, you cripple it. When them boys when those young high schools walked out, and they were divided, wasn't even the majority of them, it stopped the movement. The superintendent came in, the mayor wanted to find out what did these kids want. They started to pay attention because laws across the country say you have to have over 90% of your classrooms filled for you to get your money, whether it's federal, whether it's taxpayers' dollars.
That's not true. It's not. You don't have to have 90% of your class. Plus, some classrooms only got 12 children in it. So that's not true. Go ahead. No, that's not true.
That's federal law. If they get Title I dollars, and most poor cities do, you have over 97%, if I'm right, African American. Mm-hmm. And if I look up how much federal dollars you get, right, whether it's Title I, which is eligible, I'm just saying here is the only thing white folks understand is the dollar. And they know, so far we've proven true to form. We have saying we shall overcome, and we have marched in Ferguson. And they're saying, good, keep the black folk marching, singing, kumbaya. We'll continue doing, because that's all they do. They don't understand the power of shutting our banks down. You shut the money flow, and you will hear. Those little kids had much more response in that little town, so much so Arnie Duncan wanted to see what's going on, right, because it affects elections. So all I'm saying is, while we talk about who's going to get on the polls, even with all this is happening, they looked at the number of people that registered to vote. It's still a low number. Even with all of this going on, the number of people that have registered in Ferguson to vote since Mike Brown has been low. So you have to run parallel.
I think they registered like either 3,800 or 4,300 since this
They actually dispelled that number. Yeah, it was on the news just recently that they were questioning if that was the number. They said the numbers were a little different as they started to read the voter registrar. So all I'm saying is we got to do a little bit more.
But you get back to the point that if those protesters are from Ferguson, then they need to be directed in the right direction. And the right direction is make change with the local elections. They can't control that city locally.
Listen, if you just tuned in, you come center stage. We're talking about Ebola and the St. Louis riot. Let's talk about it. There's been 3,400 cases of people that have died from Ebola in West Africa. And we understand that in Nigeria, they are using nano silver or colloidal silver, and it's curing people of Ebola. However, in Liberia and Sierra Leone, they are blocking shipments of Ebola. Not of Ebola, of colloidal silver and nano silver from coming in, which makes it sound to me like WHO, which is the World Health Network.
I don't, Kheri, I don't believe that. Let me tell you something. If Nigerians are using colonial silver to make an impact on that disease, Nigerians themselves would go into business providing that to the people in Sierra Leone and Liberia.
But it's political, Pianki. We're not crazy. We're talking about major mega power here. And that's the force that's stopping that. No.
Nigeria.
It's all over the internet, Pianki. Everybody's not lying. This is happening.
Well, that's why I told you last week. Last week I told you, Terry, I don't believe, and I said, let's check it out. Let's get some silver. Let's identify somebody, and let's see if we can. I'll put the money up if we want to do that. I've challenged you. It's easier to expand on these stories, and I'm saying it's not true. I'm saying you can send as much of that stuff over to Nigeria if you wanted to.
Okay, we're gonna do that this week now. Listen, so 3,400 people have died in West Africa. We understand, because Pianki does not believe it, we understand that in Nigeria they are successfully stamping out Ebola by using nano silver, or it's also called colloidal silver. That's it. Please let me finish. So that said, there's an issue. If the World Health Organization is blocking shipment of colloidal silver going into Liberia and Sierra Leone, that's scary. And that says that they have an agenda to let some folks die. And I hate to put it out there, but there's no other reason.
Another thing, you could buy the equipment to make your own nano silver. All it is a battery charger, and there's plenty of silver around there.
I agree. Before I would let them block it, I think I would take a battery and make my own. But we're going to go to the phone lines. Mark Daniels, good evening. You've been holding a while. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Kheri. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight, and I want to apologize for being late. I was a guest on another radio show, so I was not able to get here on time and to listen to all the beautiful spirits that are sharing there tonight from their hearts and telling people what's going on in the world and trying to wake people up and educate them. People like Bianca, who I've gotten to know just briefly over the past short while, is someone who is cares very deeply for humanity and is doing everything that he can to make a difference. Kheri, what you've done here is to create a space for these beautiful spirits to be able to come and to be able to find solutions and answers. And so I want to thank you for that and all your co-hosts and panelists. It's been a most beautiful experience. I've had some major changes in my life recently. Kheri knows about it. I'm not going to go into detail, but I wanted to share a poem with you if you don't mind.
Okay.
And I know it's a little off topic, but I just want people to just listen to the words and think about what they're doing right now, and it will speak to their spirit. Okay. Okay. The title of the poem, it's very brief, but the title of the poem is Prometheus Bled, and it is a poem by a friend of mine named Kay. And the poem goes like this: Last night I died 1,000 deaths, each by 1,000 cuts. And though I want to leave this path, continue on I must. How much more can my soul endure this walk that steals my breath? Where all around me pick away this slow Promethean death? This place of hearts so quickly drains, reserves this gilded cage. In tune within the solace fair cries out with neutral rage. That once I'm fallen on broken knees, do the carrion gather high, where crows that cackle in the fray in silence I will cry. Forgive them gently with mother's love. I scrolled up too far. I'm sorry about that. Forgive them gently with mother's love. Dig deep, yet deeper still, where those that fed from this weary child do feed upon my will. Where dare I stood in truths profound, the blind eyes made to see, as mortal flesh rots on their limbs, these walking dead and me. Cannot they see beyond this veil, beyond their surly bounds? These fools that conflict searches out still change them to the ground. I'm free, they yell from towers high, but know themselves not yet. They only see the flesh they're not, while caught in illusion's net. So toil I must and stand I will to bleed another day, where somehow through this misty plain I can help them find their way. To Middle Earth, where ebb meets flow, the balance of the tides, to climb Olympus's craggy face, where Prometheus resides. And the last stanza: since for his gift of fire's truth, the ascensions of the mind, wrought from his flesh, his liver torn, where morrow's day does find. His quest ordeal renews again, sacrificial daily bread, is where I share these self-same truths, in the way Prometheus bled. And when I read that poem, I think of each of you, and I think of how you are Prometheus, and what you're doing is courageous and kind and loving, and that's what we need more of in this on this planet, in this universe, in this omniverse that we're a part of. We're all connected. You are me. And so I just want you to know that my heart bleeds for the people in Africa, the people stricken recently here in the States and other places around the world. This system is dying from within, this current system. And I say system, and I spell it CYST, because it truly is a cyst. And so I invite you all to get in touch with who you are, who you truly are, which is nothing but spirit. You're not that body you're in. You're not that name that that's used to call you or to beckon you. This legal fiction that's been created around you is designed to destroy you, to destroy the human spirit. And we will not stand by and allow that to happen. I will not knowing what I know today that I did not know even a month ago. And so I love every one of you, and I'm proud of you. You're beautiful spirits, and I know that soon you'll see what I see. And when you do, we'll rejoice together. Thank you.
And if I could chime in for a minute there, Kheri, I love your beautiful spirit as well, but it would be even more beautiful if your culture would stand up as well against what they're doing against us. That would be something really.
Thank you. You're absolutely correct, and I so appreciate you bringing that up, because there's not enough people. I guess if you think of people according to race, it's the last time I checked, we all bleed red, and that's the problem with people of all cultures. It seems today. And especially amongst the culture which I am identified, this body is identified with, which is the white race. And yes,
Mark?
So yeah, I hear you. I really do hear you, and my heart goes out to you. I'm doing everything I know to do to raise consciousness and to make my contribution. That's all I can do. That's all any of us can do.
I've often said that whites need to get off their lazy fat asses and deal with some of these problems.
Well, that's one way of putting it.
Bianchi,
I like that because you have a way
right now there's not enough blacks to take care of that problem. The problem at the southern border, white kids are getting killed and beat up and shot by police and tased and slammed to the ground where they laying up in a coma. You have a case like that in Independence, Missouri. In more cases in Lincoln County and so on and so on. So whites need to get off their fat, lazy ass and say something about these problems and collectively solve them. Another point, if whites was to stop the damn illegal immigrants, then maybe they would have jobs in their own community for their sons and daughters to work. They wouldn't be having to migrate over into the black community, setting up a good old boy system where the local black kids, sons and daughters, cannot get jobs.
My heart goes out to you, Bianchi, and I certainly hear you. I do. And it's unfortunate that more people don't hear you, right?
Okay, listen. I don't know what Bianchi just went with that, but anyway, I think this is where we're at. I think I realize under Agenda 21, again, I plead with everyone to please Google and learn what Agenda 21 is. Despite what Black Man said earlier, I think that was Black Man that said Agenda 21 is the boogeyman. I disagree with you. Agenda 21 is very real, and it was a summit in Rio de Janeiro with our world leaders who were deciding how we all should live, how we should breathe, how much of this planet we should take up. And listen, let me just break it down as simply as I can. What they're trying to do is they're basically putting environment over man. And they're saying that they would like to reduce the population to under 500 million people. That would be 9/10 of the world. They just want gone. So they would like the very, 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 very rich. So we're talking about just a multimillionaire. We're talking about the very, 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 very rich. They would like to get rid of all of us, as they refer to us as bottom feeders, because we haven't accomplished in life what they have. They would like to get rid of us, and they would like to just be able to roam freely upon this beautiful land, minus all us bottom feeders that are just sucking up too much air and just too big of a
them lazy fat asses would starve in a week.
Yeah, look. The thing about it is they're spinning out, man. These people are spinning out. This is coming to an end, and there's no stopping it. It's done. Babylon is already fallen, and here's what's going to happen. And I can tell you from a place of knowing that you're going to see some miracles happen. I mean, magic is going to happen. You're going to have changes in your life and in your family's life that you've never witnessed before in your life. And all old things have passed away. All things have become new. And so believe that and quit giving your energy away to these motherfuckers.
And another thing, when the hurricane season come up this spring, when the hurricane
Chris,
season come up this spring.
Bianchi, I'm sorry, but I got to say one more thing. Chris, I hear you laughing back there, and I love you, brother. You get me.
Oh, y'all are funny. Okay, listen. Back to what I was saying. Okay, here we go. They were not getting rid of huh?
Kheri, I don't think I had introduced myself when I came on. This is Tammy Simpson.
Oh, hey, Tammy.
Hi, Tammy. Hi, Tammy.
Hey, love.
Hey, love you.
Excuse me. And I really appreciate being on this call tonight. I really do. I've learned some very interesting things. And Kheri, what we're doing here in Dallas, at least what I'm trying to do in Dallas, and you know my situation, I'm trying to bring about change for everyone. And I've been taking notes. And that person is going to be me, Kheri. That person is me. In the name, in the my son's name, my foundation is going to be called Troy Causey Foundation for Change, because we need change. And I'm taking notes. So I take that challenge. The young man on the phone said about socioeconomics. I'm taking that challenge. What we need is like-minded individuals. To collectively come together and sit down and map out a plan. And the young lady that was on the phone, when we get that plan, I want you to join our team. We are going to get a plan. If I could just get the like-minded individuals, because I'm tired. Yeah. I'm tired.
Tell it.
Pain has brought this forth out of me. It's always been in me, but we've always been kind of mute, and we've always been kind of just complacent in our own situations. But pain changes people, and I am ready for that change, and I accept the challenge.
It's coming, baby. It's coming.
I accept the challenge, and I want to challenge each of you. Look out for this foundation.
Yes.
I want you on my team. I want us to be on this team that will make this change.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful, loving. I mean, you're beautiful. I love you. Yeah. You're a dragon. I mean, I got to say one more thing, Kheri. I'm sorry. I got to do this. You are a dragon. I mean, you're a warrior, and I want to tell you, I feel your spirit, man. You're gonna do great things. I love you. Yes.
I have faith, and I wish others join me. Yes, Kheri.
Tell them how to reach out to you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Kheri, they can reach out to me at Tammy Simpson, and I think you can also reach out to me as a Justice for Troy, Tammy Simpson, or Justice for Troy. It'll come up. And reach out to me. And just read my timeline. Well, my page is not public, so you have to request my friendship at this moment. But I am fighting for change. And like I said, I went through a traumatic incident that has propelled me to make this change in the midst of everything. And this has been going on for centuries, not, the killing, the slaughtering of our blacks. But this has been going on for centuries. But we need to do something, because like Kheri, I see something, I want to stop it. And I am relentless at it. I fear nothing but God, and there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Fear is something embedded in people. It's not no such thing as fear. Yeah. So we all need to get up off our lazy asses, and we need to do something. We need to do something. And I'm mad. I'm angry. I am angry.
The most important thing that I found thus far, that if I save myself, okay, but but one shall awaken. If I save myself, I save all of humanity, and that's where it starts. It begins. Charity begins at home, and so what I have to do is get myself right, and then if I'm right, if I know who I am, truly know who I am, then I can make all the difference in the world. We become all powerful at that point. And so I love what you're doing. You're an inspiration to so many people. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And
well,
I'm going to call, yes.
I'm going to tell you this.
Enlightening me on a lot of things.
If black folks ain't got enough gumption to tell white society that if you don't have enough jobs in your own community and the police force and so forth for your sons and daughters, you either got to do one or two things. One, stop having so many damn babies. Or two, do what's necessary to get them illegals and them foreigners out of your economic system so your kids can work in your own community where you've moved to your enclave, and stop exporting them over into the black community. Say what has to be done.
We created all of this. We all created it. We're all connected. We're all spirit.
I know, Mark.
So we all created this.
But if they always tell black folks, they need to stop. Y'all need to stop having so many babies. If you don't have enough jobs, if you don't have enough jobs for your babies in your own neighborhood, i.e., your own country, then you need to stop having so many.
Right.
Put some Planned Parenthoods in your community.
I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't debating you. I agree with you.
I know you wasn't.
You said. I was just simply making kind of a segue and trying to show a different perspective. That's all. Another point of view. You know, and because that's how connected we all are. Yeah.
We're going back to the phone line, 314-853. Good evening, you're on Center Stage.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing?
My favorite caller. I'm fine. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Was that Mark speaking?
See, that's the only somebody you ever concerned about is Mark on the
phone.
Yes.
How are you doing? It's so good to hear your voice. Yes.
Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, you said. Did you say we all created this problem?
Well, let me clarify. I'm glad you're asking.
You better clarify that.
Yeah, I'm glad to. I really am, because when I say we, we're all connected, right? And so naturally, if one did something, we all did it. Okay, so just bear with me just for a second, please. I mean, I respect you, and I know you respect me. We may not agree on everything, but we're still.
You never respected me, but go ahead.
Well, no, I've changed, my friend. I've changed.
Oh,
yeah, I have. And you don't have to believe me. I don't care if you believe me. It's not for you. It's for me. And if you benefit from it, wonderful. I love you that much. I want you to benefit.
You want to benefit from it.
Yeah, but here's what I wanted to tell you in answer to clarify your, or you go ahead with your question, because I think I did clarify it. Go ahead.
How did you clarify that?
You're confusing me. I'm sorry.
No.
Well, okay, all right. So I didn't give you enough. Let me give you a little bit more then, because it's important, to do so. Because I want you to be clear about what I said. What I said was that we all created, and if we're all connected, if we're all connected on a spiritual realm, then therefore when one does something, everyone does it. I mean, we're all consciousness. That's all we are. You still think you're in a body, that you're that body, and you're that name that was gifted to you, that people used to beckon you, and you're not that. You're spirit. Okay, you're all powerful. You're eternal. And see, that's what people have to come to understand. And once they know thyself and they know who they truly are, they can speak into a mountain to be thee removed, and it will be removed. We fight not against flesh and blood. We fight against principalities. Okay, you want me to preach to you? I hear you. I hear your pain. But I'm not your enemy. I'm not your enemy.
Stephen, make your point.
Well, let me say this.
Go ahead.
And you have to agree, white racists taught their children to hate black people. You agree with that, don't you?
I agree 100%, my friend.
Okay, and they children, and it went on down the line with that hatred. If any time you plant a seed of hatred, today is the results of it. If you had taught love, maybe it wouldn't have been this way. But white people in power continue. You will never vote out racism and discrimination.
I've already said there's some evil. They are some evil motherfuckers. Okay, I'll put it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I said that's twice. That's twice.
I wish you'd tell them that.
Yeah. You don't think I do? Maybe you should friend me on Facebook and see how I run my mouth. Okay.
Well,
see, finish your point. Finish your point. Let him finish his point. We got to pick up another call. Finish your point.
Go, Kheri.
Mark, friend me, please.
Yes. What's your name, baby?
Simpson. Tammy Simpson.
Oh, I already did. As soon as you said your name a while ago, I friended you. I was the first one.
I really respect these ladies when you said that MF word.
Hello.
That was very disrespectful.
Yeah.
Well, hello.
If it offended you, I won't use it again. I think
no, respect the ladies on there. That's how I know you haven't changed.
We're all one. Okay? We're all one, and we will find fault where we want to find fault. I'm not perfect. I don't do everything perfect. I never said I did. I love people, though. I love spirit, and I love who I am. And
you
I
didn't respect those ladies there a few minutes ago.
Well,
I got a question about Ebola, if my line's open.
Okay.
Please.
Yes, please jump in. Please jump in. Question about Ebola.
Okay.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Bianchi, what's up? So I've taken a look at your description page, and you've got an infographic there about Ebola. Now, the symptoms that are presented there, they're the common everyday symptoms of the flu. My question is, I think that Ebola isn't really that much of a danger, at least not yet. I think it's a scare tactic, and I think that they're going to use anybody with the flu or the cold or any type of symptoms like that to try to possibly test what the reactions would be from Americans to that, to then perhaps try to gauge what they can do in the future. Because if Ebola is transmissible through the air, then everybody's going to get it, including the politicians or the global, what people call the global elite. I don't even want to use that term. I call them scumbags. So I want to know what people's opinion might be about what I just said.
I agree with you.
Can I chime in on that again? Ebola was created in the 70s, the late 70s, I believe, and that was a doctor that spoke at the WHO panel at that convention that expressed that, how Ebola was started. Ebola was started, and I don't want to quote very much because I'm still misinformed about it, so don't take my word for the gospel here. But from my understanding of what he was saying was Ebola was created in the 70s, and the American government was upset because we didn't allow them to test this particular virus on their people. Well, they eventually released it anyway, and because they were going to use it as some type of biochemical warfare material sometime in the near future. And so, as you know, if you have been paying attention to media and press over the global news, lots of countries are entertaining biochemical warfare. So this is something that was started in the 70s. This is not new. Ebola is not new. And as for it being systematic as far as related to flu-like symptoms and it being foreign and so forth, that may be very true, which I think it is, because logically, and I like to place a lot of logic in things that I do read, logically, if you have a disease contained in one area, it's in Sierra Leone, it's in, now it's in Liberia, well, it's just the whole nation in between. To me, this particular virus was planted. It was planted purposely. You just don't get Ebola. 3,000 people didn't sleep with each other that quickly. Okay? Because they're saying that it's passed through bodily fluids. So I think it is airborne. And there's a secret conspiracy, and the guy on the phone may not believe in conspiracy theories or whatever, but conspiracy theorists have been proven to be very sane people. And so that's my take on the Ebola. This is something that was planted purposely.
But do you think it is here now?
I believe.
Do you think it's here now to really spread throughout the country, or do you think, as I had asked, that it's mainly a testing agent?
A testing agent?
What I'm saying is, do you think they're testing the reaction of the people now to gauge how they can then in the future either release Ebola or something else? Or are you thinking that Ebola is here?
I think initially it started as a testing agent. Initially, it started as a testing agent, yes, in the 70s.
No, I mean now, today. Do you think that they're doing
now,
it
today?
now?
No, well, to me, and this is my opinion, it's depopulation control.
Yes, it is.
So, in other words, you believe that Ebola is released now in order to kill everybody?
Well, so not everybody. They just
not everybody.
Well, who's it not going to kill?
Somebody's got some noise in their background and they need to mute their phone.
That isn't me.
I don't know. Okay. Joe, let me ask you this. How many white people have died from Ebola?
How many white people in Africa?
No. How many white people have died from Ebola since this last outbreak? How many?
I don't know.
The answer is zero.
Zero? So the
zero.
Okay, so the 3,000 people who have died who were in Africa, they were black. They died. If it was centered over here,
somebody's got some noise in their background. I'm going to have to close everybody's phone line unless whoever has the noise mutes their phone. Okay.
So if it was centered here in America and 3,000 people died, then there would be a certain amount of white people, black people, Hispanics, and Asians who died.
No,
right?
You have to understand this disease was engineered to attack people with melanin.
Oh,
people
okay.
Of color.
So, all right.
Yeah.
So,
okay. I think that's the point that was missing. It was genetically engineered for people of color. Yeah.
So if it's released here in America, only black people will die and white people will live.
That was the
okay. That's what. Okay, that's what I want to know. What the point was. I don't think it's going to happen that way. But if it does, Jesus, it's going to be.
That's why we're trying to wake everyone up. We're trying to wake everyone up.
I don't know why.
It's not going to happen on my watch because colloidal silver kills Ebola. So why would we let a whole bunch of black? I will go and collect money to put billboards up to say colloidal silver kills Ebola. It would be crazy to let people like me die in mass numbers here in America when colloidal silver can be bought at the vitamin shop. That would be crazy.
Like silver builds up your immune system. It does not. It's your immune system that's going to kill off the Ebola virus. You can't take. Just think if you took colloidal silver, then it not only would it kill the Ebola virus, but what else in you would it kill? It would act discriminatory, wouldn't it?
No, theoretically, colloidal silver.
And I was told when you take colloidal silver, you need to take a probiotic because it wipes out all the bacteria, and a probiotic will leave the good bacteria and not,
but virus and bacteria are two different things.
Let me finish, P. Hanky. You keep cutting me off. The probiotic is to preserve the good bacteria in your colon. The colloidal silver wipes out, I think, basically Ebola. Is that a bacteria?
Well,
Ebola is a virus.
Well, I don't know if it's a virus or a bacteria, but from what I read about colloidal silver, it's supposed to kill only the harmful bacteria.
Then there you have it. There you have it. And
well,
so,
that's what I've read. I don't know. There are doctors who.
The best thing for killing off harmful bacteria is your own immune system. You can't go to the shelf. But I hear people using colloidal silver for earaches. So.
But wait a minute, P.A.T., please do not put misinformation out here tonight. First of all, go do your own research. I want to close that tonight.
Listen, I have done research on. Let me tell you, it's good. It's good for strengthening your immune system. The best fighter that you got, other than a specific medicine, and it does something, is your immune system.
But
he's right about that.
But the problem with that, P.A.T., if Ebola is waiting outside the door, let's just say they sprayed it in the air. Let's just say it is airborne. Don't tell people that they got to go build up their immune system. They don't have time to go build up their immune system if it's outside the door. What they need to do is
it's going to get the weak ones, but the people that's been so-called cured, they take those folks' blood and use it and transfuse them for transfusion so that their blood cells, well, you know how it works.
I don't want anybody's blood, to be honest with you. I don't care what it's got in it. I don't want it. So I'd rather build up my immune system, have it strong, so I'd be able to fight off Ebola. I'm taking colloidal silver now, by the way, y'all. I am taking colloidal silver. I'm taking
Don't take too much, you'll turn blue.
I heard that. And I'm only taking a teaspoon a day. I'm taking colloidal silver, I'm taking a probiotic, and I'm taking noni juice. And for the most part, to my knowledge, I'm a pretty healthy person already. So hopefully, with all that and the grace of God, I'll be okay. But
So you're taking all of that, but you're not going to eat? You're going to die of starvation.
Let's go to the phone line. Hold on, Joe. We're going to go to 618-514. Good evening, Euro Center State. 618-514.
Hey, good evening, Court. Good evening. How y'all doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm great, thanks. Yeah, I feel what you all are saying, but I wanted to drop a little information on the science of how the mind works. See, first we have to realize what's going on. See, what happens is once your mind knows what's getting ready to happen. Can you hear me?
Speak up. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
That's a little better.
Okay. As I wanted to drop some information on the science of the mind, or how the mind works. See, once the mind knows that there's something getting ready to happen to the body, the neuron electrons in the mind will come up with a solution to combat it. See, what we have to do is be educated on what's going on to the body. Your mind will fixate a solution for it. We don't have to go outside ourselves to get a solution, because it's not about survival of the fittest, because just because you fit don't mean you're going to survive. It's those who are able to adapt to change, or those who are going to survive. There was a law that was passed in 2010 called Codex Alimentarius. Have you all heard of that?
It's called what?
Codex Alimentarius.
No.
Codex Alimentarius was a law that was passed December 31st, 2010, where they said they're going to put every Ebola and many other poisonous chemicals inside of every manufactured food made in America. And that's called Codex Alimentarius. Once we understand, they put laws into place to especially direct to your melanin. They also got a weapon called the neutron bomb. Have you heard of that?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, the neutron bomb, it destroys people. It don't destroy property. So they know how to direct stuff to you. So it's once we're educated on what they're doing and how they're going to do it to us, your mind will come up with a solution. That's why it's not good to eat these animals, because what happens is once this chicken or this pig is getting slaughtered, what happens is even though it can't fight it, it'll send poisonous chemicals through its body so that when you eat it, you get it. That's the power of the mind.
Okay, now, okay, you say that's the power of the mind, but it's actually a law?
Once your mind knows that something's going to happen to the body, it will fixate a solution to combat it. As long as you don't know, you're going to always see the problem that we are seeing now.
That's true. That's why I
we
come
don't know
Muslim.
what's going on, so when they do stuff, it's a shock other than, I'm prepared for it already.
That's true. You see that in animals. I mean, that's why I come when you shoot a deer and you don't kill him, you don't immediately chase at them. You just let them go off and lie and die by themselves. And another reason why come Muslims eat what they call halal beef and pork and so on. Not pork, but beef and chicken. It has to be killed a certain way where it doesn't cause stress in the animal, because those, like you said, it does have the ability to produce some toxins and so forth.
Yeah, so we have to be realistic on educating the people on what's going on. So you don't got to tell the mind what to do. Once you know that there's something to destroy the body, you'll come up with it on.
Let me say this. I think that they got people's mind so messed up with religion and politics. People don't want to hear what you're saying. They don't want to hear that. I understand you. Don't get me wrong. I understand exactly what you're saying. But when the way this system is set up, the system was not set up to be fair, and it's not going to be fair. It's good that you yourself can read and get up on this stuff. You're not tricked in the way this system is set up. In religion and politics is what got people's mind all messed up. Yes, a person.
That's true. Let's go back and that's a topic that's very touchy. And again, that's a topic that's very touchy as far as Christianity, but I want to drop some knowledge too as well. Christianity originally started out as a nation, and then it evolved into a religion. So if we go back and do our homework and do our research on the evolvement of Christianity, and again, that's touchy. People don't like for anyone to mess with their God, but we still need educators. And there was no such thing as Christianity before they brought us over. Europeans introduced Christianity on us. So,
but we got to, as you said, you have to understand. There's books. I like to give us some references to some books that we can research.
Speak up a little?
I say, well, there are some books that we can read to even eradicate those religious problems. You have a book called Christianity in Africa Before Christ by Dr. John G. Jackson. You have Christianity, Islam, and the Negro Race. The book your church doesn't want you to read. There's a lot of things that we can read to understand the historical origin of Christianity. Go ahead.
Yes, and in addition to just reading books, you can read the treaties that the United States have with other countries. It's right there. It's in our faces. It's been so blatant.
I mean, but they haven't respected any treaty, but we got to understand, just like our sister, Dr. Francis Cresswell, that the system is racism, white supremacy that is perfected, first off, and that is not a democracy with imperfection. We think that this thing is just imperfect. No, this thing is perfected, and also her teacher, Nellie Fuller, told us that if you don't understand racism, white supremacy, and how it works, everything you think you understand will only confuse you.
Mm-hmm. And you know, let me say this: if somebody asks a person, do they go to church, and they tell them no, that's an argument right there. They separate. Right. Anybody that say, do you vote? They say, no, I don't vote. That separates people. People don't seem to understand. People, when they get ready to vote, they don't read these politicians' records, number one. And what people don't understand, lobbying. That's why the NRA is such a powerful organization. When you spend money, you can change laws. Black people don't have no money to change no laws. That's why laws will never.
That's not true. We don't put our money together so we can change laws, but we have the money.
You keep talking about together. This thing, you can't fight the power of this white boy. You can't fight. I don't care why you say that. You don't have no black people. You don't have no black.
You come out the gate every week defeated, talking about what the white man can do. What the white man can do, and what the black man can't do. What have you done? I'm sorry.
What have black men done? Let me say hello.
He's actually on point with that, and that's a very, very true statement, Kheri. And that's something we really do have to take into consideration. The socioeconomic status is very powerful when you have that. That's what makes. The lobbyists control the capital. The
lobbyists put our money together. If we ever decide that we can win, we can win. But if you go out
what he's saying is there's a plan of attack. Yes, and we can come together with our minds, but we have to have a plan of attack, and that's a real, very viable plan of attack. Is attacking that way through economics, but we need these minds to come together, and that goes back to what you're saying, Kheri. We need minds. We need the minds to collectively figure out how we're going to do that, to map it out.
I would say. Everybody on the phone line tonight. Let's pick up this conversation next week, same time, same place, because we're going to get cut off in a minute. Because I think we're on to something. If we take like minds, put them together, realize how to take our dollars, put them together, we can change something. Until we do that, we can't. That's plain and simple. It's not going to happen.
And you two both have a very right, and I just brought both of your points together.
Let me say, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, I want to say that we talking about Christianity and solutions. Nat Turner was a preacher. He was a Christian. Harriet Tubman was a preacher. She was a Christian. John Brown was a Christian, and he's a preacher. Now, we're coming up on Thursday and Friday this upcoming week. It's the 155th anniversary of John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry in West Virginia.
Yep.
Now, we got to understand, sometimes we may lose the battle, but we can still win the war.
Yeah.
George Washington lost more battles than he won. He still won the Revolutionary War.
It's not about
it's about the quality.
We've already won. What have we won?
I believe that too.
Yeah. We've already won. It's in your mind. That's the thing. You got to get out of this literal physical realm. Everything here, we all created it, and now we're moving into a new age, and that's what people have to get through their skulls. I had to. And it's some deep truth to take because it seems too simple to be true. But if we simply, I love the last few speakers, and Charles was right on point with what he's saying. Yeah, he's angry. He's pissed off. Why shouldn't he be? And I want to take this moment just briefly to say how sorry I am because Charles was right. I should never have used that language. It was offensive, and I understand why it was offensive. And so I want to offer my sincere apologies to all the ladies and gentlemen that are at this table tonight. And so, yeah, I'm loving the guest that just called in that was talking about the mind. I didn't catch his name, but
my name is Metu. My name is Metu, but I also wanted to just add before y'all elaborate.
Yes.
Law is nothing but an opinion backed by a gun.
The law?
You got it.
The law?
You got it.
The law ain't nothing but an opinion backed by a gun.
Yeah, and once we know who we are and we're walking in full truth and we're truly just walking in the Spirit, I guarantee you all these problems will fall away. You know, quit giving your energy to it. But if you're going to give your energy to it, at least give it to it and put the spiritual perspective into it.
Hey, Mark, could I ask you a question?
You can ask me anything you want. I don't know if I'll have the answer, but you can ask me.
If you was a black man, would you trust a white man?
Hell no. Hell no.
Excellent question.
I mean, I'm sorry I said hell. That's not as bad as what I said earlier, but yeah, you're right on, Charles.
No, this is Prius. This is not Charles. This is Prius.
I'm sorry. I got the voices confused. My apologies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right on.
Listen, we got to get out of here.
I'm tired of putting my hands on my show.
Thanks a lot.
618. If you would, hit me up at centerstageradio@yahoo.com. 618, if you would, hit me up at centerstageradio@yahoo.com. I'd like to look into some of the information you just said, if that's okay.
You said Center Stage Radio?
At yahoo.com.
Okay, is that spelled a certain way or is it spelled regular?
Beg your pardon?
Is that spelled a certain way or is it just regular Center Stage Radio?
Just a regular way. CENTERSTAGE radio@yahoo.com.
I'll do that.
Okay. Listen, guys, we got to get out of here. It's been a great dialogue. Hopefully, we put something on your mind. I definitely think some of the callers tonight put something on my mind. And what we need to do is figure out how to change some stuff because, we're running out of time. I mean, when we get through, the black man absolutely looks like he has a target on his head, and we're targeted for extinction unless we do something, and we got to do it quickly. So I am interested in connecting with anybody of like mind, like spirit, who's willing to try to do something to get this train back on track. So I'm at centerstageradio@yahoo.com. I'm also on Facebook under Kheri Hines. That's okay. H-E-R-I, last name Hines, H-I-N-E-S. It's spelled again, K-H-E-R-I, last name Hines, H-I-N-E-S. Anybody who's of like thinking, who realizes that the black man has got a target on his head, who wants to come together with like-minded people so we can try to figure out what we can do to get this train back on track, hit me up this week. Okay, guys, we got to get out of here. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Great show, Kheri. Great show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Kheri. Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.